Hello and thanks for joining me for your in-depth weekly horoscope for week commencing the 10th of January. This is for the Sun or the Ascendant. As ever, I'll give you a broad overview before, please stay with me, I will dive deep and go into each individual zodiac sign to give you in forensic detail what you can expect for the next 7 days. Now, if you are new to my channel, I would be honoured if you would subscribe. Please click or tap on the bell notification symbol. Now, this week begins with an event which actually happened late last week, still very much to the fore, and that's a quarter moon between the Sun and the Moon. The Moon on Sunday was in the sign of Aries, the Sun in the sign of Capricorn. Aries is the first house, the first zodiac sign. It's very much to do with action and energy and impulse. And the moon in this location can be quite restless, whereas the Sun in the sign of Capricorn is much more about how the established order works. So if we want to try something a bit more individual this week, we have to be mindful of how it will be received. Now, also this week, from Monday through to Wednesday, the Sun is forging a beautiful link with Neptune. If you are someone who has a strong compassion for those who are less fortunate, this is really going to emphasize that part of your nature. This could see you making a donation to a good cause, or perhaps doing something just in a practical way. You know, keeping an eye on an elderly neighbour, or perhaps if someone's got COVID, going and doing a bit of shopping for them, putting it on their doorstep just to give them some assistance. The Sun in the sign of Capricorn can be about status and more material gains. Neptune in Pisces is much more spiritual. So it's like trying to find a union between the two when they're in this sextile. But in the second half of this week, the Sun comes in to a conjunction with Pluto. Now, by Sunday, this becomes absolutely exact. This is very much to do with transformations. Pluto is the planet of change, but it can also be the planet of endings. So if there's something in our situation that needs to make way, then this particular influence is going to call out to us. Now, it could be an old lifestyle approach. It may be a job that we're not enjoying very much. Perhaps it is that relationship which has seen better days and been bumping along the bottom. But that transformation that can go on between the Sun and Pluto can also be within ourselves. So we can change and our relationship to situations alter quite deeply. Now, of course, on Friday, Mercury finally goes into its retrograde. It's actually been in its pre-shadow period since the last 3 days of last year. So if something has been meandering along and not quite gaining the traction that you've been hoping for, this could explain it. But also this week, Mars is in an aggravating angle with Neptune. So Mars is very much about passion, action, desire. Neptune can dissolve, so sometimes our motives can be a bit unclear when these two are not communicating clearly. So with Mercury also in a retrograde in the sector of friendships and group associations and how we connect to others, I think it's going to be important if something or somebody seems a little bit different or not quite clear in where they're coming from, not to jump to a conclusion, because the potential for confusion is definitely there later in this week. But if we can stay clear-minded and clear in our actions, some kind of change can happen in our situations which actually can be very positive, even if it doesn't feel like it at the time, which often can be the case with Pluto. Now, before I go on to tell you about each of the 12 zodiac signs, year 2022 is with us. If you want to order your forecast and get my special package of your character analysis as well, from the time of the order, I will give you 12 full months. plus 30% off. But all this is based on your unique birth data, not just your sun sign, and can give you searing insights of what you can expect in the months ahead, and also discover what makes you tick at a much deeper level. Please see the link beneath this video. Hello Cancer, and welcome to your in-depth forecast for week commencing the 10th of January. Late last week there was a quarter moon, and the moon was very close to the surface for you. So when it comes to relationships, because the moon clashed with the sun in your sector of relationships, if there is a relationship that's not going quite as you would like, then it will be more difficult to disguise how you feel. And sometimes you can be very private and keep your feelings very much close to your chest. Now Mars is in a very passionate location, excellent for being more physically active, but its square with Neptune suggests that you shouldn't try to be too virtuous when it comes to those New Year's resolutions. If, like me, you're a born-again couch potato and you're trying to become an Olympian by the end of January, I think it could be self-defeating. So whatever intentions you've got, see them as being very good, but don't try to push yourself too hard. Now this is a week, of course, when we do have Mercury going retrograde, and for you it's in your sector of long-term finances. But see this as an opportunity to actually get clearer about these. There's a lot of negative briefing that goes on about Mercury retrograde, and for sure it is a time when we're thinking about contracts or agreements or travel, we have to be very cautious. But the whole world can't stop 3 times a year. Will actually be 4 this year when we have a Mercury retrograde. So what we need to do is use the understanding that one's going on and in the part of our situation that it influences to our advantage. So I think the part of you that's very good at diving deep into situations and really scrutinizing things, that's actually magnified. That becomes an asset for you. It is, however, the case that the Sun's conjunction with Pluto, which becomes exact as the week draws to a close, can be very powerful for a close relationship. One can draw ever more together, and one could separate. It just depends. Maybe it's that relationship to the relationships. Maybe it's your relationship to your own expectations. There's all sorts of relationships within the realm of relationships. But if there is somebody that you're finding it more difficult to understand at the moment, one of the things we need to avoid with Pluto in the mix is being ruthless, because people often use, not necessarily intentionally, Pluto as a way to almost erase the very fact that someone may have once been in their lives. So important to understand that Pluto needs to be used with a great deal of respect. This is like going to sea without a life jacket. You know, Pluto is not an influence to play lightly with. So if something isn't working in a relationship, some very deep revelations or conversations may be necessary. Try not to avoid having that discussion and just changing the reality by removing yourself or that person from your situation. All that does is creates a broken relationship without giving it a chance to heal it in the first place.